Alright, today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do injectors on a 3VZ. So, first thing we're going to want to do is disconnect the battery, as you want to do for anything you're working on underneath your hood. Got some new Denso injectors, because I have a injector in the middle for the driver's side that is going out. So, I'm deciding to replace them. And next we're going to also, or once we disconnect our battery here, we're going to have to remove this top part of the intake, which involves a bunch of these vacuum lines, which you can label, this EGR line right here, and your throttle position sensor wire, your intake, a bunch of hoses over here. And then you can lift this up, which gets you to your fuel rails, and I'll show you how to remove this. So there's a few bolts here, main bolts. These bolts right here, and there's probably one other around here somewhere. And there are bolts also down here that you want to remove. So I'll get back to you when I have those removed. Alright, so when you're taking off all these vacuum lines and, just stuff, you can take a picture of it, like some detailed pictures from different angles, or you can take them off and label them as you go. In this case, I'm familiar with this vacuum, all these vacuum lines, so I already have pictures. Yeah, that's pretty much. And if your truck was just running, you should probably wait a little minute or two, because sometimes these EGRs can get warm. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you. So I have the upper intake off. I have all these vacuum lines off, and I got the cold starter injector off, and I put the banjo bolt back in there with both of the copper washers, and I got the EGR, as well as all this assortment of vacuum and coolant hoses and connector and just, that kind of stuff. But that does expose us to our fuel rails and whatever, a little radar TV. But then we can take off our our fuel rails, this little crossover pipe right here with these banjo bolts. And when you're taking off these banjo bolts, you see right here, there's a copper washer in between this little guy right here, this little joint, and that joint. And you're going to want to make sure not to lose those. And you can reuse them, which I am going to. You take this off and be careful because of the fuel pressure. But when you take off your cold start injector, you shouldn't have to worry about that too much, because it's relieving a fair amount of pressure. Another thing you can do is put something into the intake that obviously isn't going to fall down in there. Like, you can put like a whole paper towel in there. Just kind of crumple up, put it near the top, so nothing falls down there, like nuts or bolts or dirt, stuff like that. So, that's pretty much. I'll show you how to take off this fuel rail too. So what you're going to do is you're going to loosen up these banjo bolts right here, this guy right here, and this guy right here. Then you are going to take off this nut right here and this nut right here, and pay attention to the spacers. There should be little plastic deals right here and underneath, and then you can slowly lift up on them. You can either loosen these two or completely remove them. Just keep track of the little copper washers, and then we can pull these out, these injectors. So a guy went ahead and he took off the fuel rails and peeled out the old injectors and made a fascinating discovery. So the OEM injectors on these early 3BZs are actually single port, and it happens to be the new injectors I got are 2-port. And what a port means on an injector is on the nozzle here, right there, there's only one hole, which that's 1 port. And 2 means 2 ports. So while the older ones are functional, and that was standard as fuel injection, became this new great thing, the advancements in injectors have made it so we can get better atomization out of, fuel with more ports and more power too. So also wanted to show you guys a neat little trick. So there are O-rings on top of your injectors, and if you just try and jam them onto your fuel rail, a lot of times you can break or roll these O-rings. So a little trick is to just put just a hint of lubricant on there. That way they slide nice and on there, but not too much lubricant. That way you don't roll or break these. And you'll just have to see, like, Google it or something. Anyways, yeah, you put a little bit of lubricant on them O-rings, and I'm just about to do this other side of injectors here, and I will show you like maybe a time lapse of putting this thing back together, maybe some tips and tricks or neat little things to watch out for. So I will be back with you when I either have it apart, or not apart, but back together, and maybe, test her out. Anyways, gotta get back to work here. So I went ahead and just put the intake back on, got everything all buttoned up here. There's one hose back here that goes to your EGR that can be a pain, so it's best to get that as you set down the intake. Yeah, finished. It really wakes her up, those new injectors. Definitely worth doing. See you next time.